Hello, darling. It's good to see you again, and thanks for joining me for today's video. Okay, so on my way over to see my doctor, and I want to talk to you today about something that's really important, which I honestly thought could never happen, but believe it or not, it has. I mean, if anyone had have said to me, oh look, did you know, if anyone had said to me, oh look, did you know that your vehicle can lock itself, locking you out of it? Oh my God, I would have laughed my head off, thinking, oh, they're lying. But no, it's actually true. Because that's exactly what happened to me the other day, believe it or not. I had no idea that my van could actually lock itself, locking me out, which it did. Oh my God, I still can't believe it. I really can't. Oh, see, what's this driver doing? So anyway, what happened is that on Wednesday morning, I had to go, run some few errands, do the shopping, pay the bills, etc. There was a few things that I needed to do. So I gave Callie a kiss and a cuddle and said I'll be back later. And I grabbed the rubbish and I've locked the door of my apartment. So I thought I'll take the rubbish, put the rubbish in the bin on the way to the van, which I did. And so I put everything in the van, my handbag, car keys, wallet, purse, etc. And I put my car keys in my ignition as I always do. Now the van is locked. The passenger side door is locked. The other side door is locked except for my side door, which is the driver's side door. And I was just about to hop in the van when I thought, oh, I better wash my hands because this is up behind the apartment block. So because I put the rubbish in the bin, so I thought I'd go wash my hands, which I did. So remember, everything's in the van, my handbag and everything's on the passenger side seat. And the car keys in the ignition where I always leave them. I've gently closed the door when I went to go wash my hands. So I've gone over to wash my hands. I've come back to the van and I go to open my door, the driver's side door, because it was unlocked, remember? And all of a sudden it wouldn't open. No matter how many times I tried to open it, it just wouldn't open. Now at this point in time, I did not realise that the door is locked. I had no idea that it has locked itself. I thought it was a scam. I'm thinking, well, maybe the safe belt is stuck in the door, which has caused it to jam, which has happened a few times. But no, it wasn't. Because when I looked, the safe belt was on. It was in the middle of my seat. And that's when panic started to kick in, and I'm thinking about all of these what-if scenarios, because the keys were in the van. I couldn't get into my apartment. So therefore, if Kelly had some sort of emergency, like a fire in my apartment or something, I can't get into my apartment because the keys are in the van. And I couldn't get in contact with anyone because my phone is in the van. I couldn't take any money out because my purse is in the van. And I'm thinking, now what am I going to do? And there was no way that I could ask anyone who lives on my apartment block for help because there is no one home, because everyone is at work. And from what I've learned from my experiences in the past is that you can always ask people for help, but that doesn't mean to say that they're going to help you. Because I remember when I had my car, this was before I got my van, and I had a flat battery, and I just needed someone to help me with the jump start. And there was a guy out the front, and I asked him, I said, "Oh, look, can you please, I've got a flat battery, could you please help me?" And he said, no, and it didn't matter how much I begged him. I offered him money, and he simply said, "No, I'm not going to help you because I don't want to help you." So that was when I learned that you can always ask people for help, but not everyone is going to help you. And another point that I want to make is that this is why it's always a good idea to have everything that you need. So if something happens, you can always get yourself out of trouble. Because especially if you're a solo female traveller who's travelling alone, because sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes, asking for help can put you into more danger. Like for example, if you ask a man to help you, like he could rape you or anything, rob you, anything, because if you ask the wrong person for help, by doing that, you could be placing yourself into more danger. So this is what I'm saying. It's always a good idea to have everything that you need and the right equipment, so that if something were to happen, you can always rely on yourself to get yourself out of trouble. Does that make sense? And because I can't believe how much that I have learned just from this experience. So what I did was, I'm lucky that my mechanic is just around the corner from me. So in less than a 5-minute walk to my mechanic. So I thought, okay, stop panicking, take a deep breath, relax, or try to. And I'm going around to see my mechanic, because he was the only person who could help me at that point in time. So I went to see him, and I explained everything that happened, and thank God he was able to help me. So we come back to my van, and he was able to get into my van and unlock it. And when I asked him what happened, he said the door locked. And I said to him, how can the door lock? The door was unlocked when I closed it. And he explained what happened is that because my van is a 2005 Kia Pagero van. So therefore, the lock on my door isn't up top here. It isn't up top here, as you can see, like they are on the older vehicles. You know, my lock is down here. And what happened is that when I unlocked the door with my key, even though I unlocked it, I didn't unlock it properly. So the lock on here was halfway. So it was halfway open and halfway closed. Now, where is it? I'll put you on pause for a minute. Okay, now see this here. That, this thing here, that's what I use to wipe the windows down. You know, when you're driving and the windows get foggy and you've got to wipe them, that's what I use to wipe the windows. Now, my door, I've got like a little storage container where where you stick your maps and stuff. And and in there, that's where I keep like a few things, little things, including this. So what's happened is that when I went to close the door, now remember the lock is already halfway closed. So as I've closed the door, this here has pushed the lock to close permanently. And that's how the door ended up locking from the inside. That's how the door locked itself. So therefore, if I didn't have this here in my little compartment there, if I didn't store that in the little compartment there near my lock, that wouldn't have happened. You see what I mean? So from now on, I'm definitely not storing this anywhere in the door. They can go up on the street or somewhere, but nowhere near the door. So that's how my door ended up locking itself. And my mechanic said that every time I unlock my door, make sure that the lock on my door is fully open, which I'm going to do from now on. But I'm also going to get one of those security key locks for my van, and I'll have to get someone who can weld it to my van, like somewhere underneath my van, I don't know, somewhere on the van, so that I will have peace of mind knowing that if I ever do get locked out of my van ever again, knowing that there's always a spare key there attached to my van. Just like with how, just like with how my dad used to keep a spare key underneath his car. So that's what I'm going to do. So this was a valuable learning experience because, it could have been worse because if my mechanic hadn't have been there, oh, come on. God, this driver in front of me sitting on a green arrow. Oh my God, I hate it when they do that. So anyway, if my mechanic hadn't been there, or if he wasn't able to help me, I don't know what I would have done, you know. And oh my God, I still can't believe it. And when I did some research about doors locking themselves, you know, I found out that I'm not the only one. It's happened to other people too. But different vehicles have different ways of locking themselves, you know. So I'm going to make sure that this never ever happens again. So I'm always going to keep both doors unlocked from now on. But oh my God, I couldn't thank my mechanic enough. He didn't even charge me, you know, for getting my van unlocked. I said to him, well, I owe you a favour. And he goes, yeah, okay, you owe me a favour. So that's exactly what happened. So, I mean, I thought about it, and I thought, if this can happen to me, this can happen to you or anyone else. And I realize now that even the most impossible things are still possible. They can still happen. I just couldn't believe it. I still can't believe it. And I mean, I'm so relieved that, you know, all turned out well and that it wasn't worse because, like, for example, you know, like my mechanic, he could have had to, like, get a locksmith there, you know, and that would have cost me a fortune to get a locksmith to unlock the door, you know, or break a window just to get in. And that's the last thing you want to do, is to break a window. I mean, to replace a window, oh my God, that's really costly and time consuming. So I'm really grateful that my mechanic was able to get into my van. I'm not going to explain how he got into my van, but he did. And so, oh my God, I don't know what else to say. It's just, I just can't believe it. But like I said, if this can happen to me, this can happen to you. So, the moral of the story is, always have a spare key attached to your vehicle, like a wire around something like my dad used to have underneath his car, or use one of those security key boxes welded to your vehicle, or whatever. Always have roadside assistance or AAA. What else? You know, make sure that you always have the right equipment that you need on hand to be able to get yourself out of trouble if need be, because you can always ask for help, but not everyone is going to help you. And also, you know, especially if you're a solo female traveller, you know, asking for help could place you into more danger, especially if you ask the wrong person, like a man. You know, you don't want to get raped just for, you know, or robbed or whatever, just for help, asking for help, you know. But these things do happen. Unfortunately, they do happen. to have peace of mind. Knowing that if something were to happen, you can always rely on yourself and get yourself out of trouble. So this is what I have learned from this experience. And like I said, if my van can lock itself, locking me out, it can happen to other people too. And hopefully with the newer vehicles of today, the modern vehicles, hopefully they don't do that. Hopefully they'll have some mechanism where they can't lock themselves. So I really hope that's the case with the newer models, because like I said, my van is a 2005. It's an old van. It's not a modern van like the vehicles of today. Yeah, so I thought I should share that story with you. So I hope you found that story useful in some way. I hope my advice was able to help you in some way, because I would really hate to find out that the same thing has happened to you or to someone else. I mean, oh my God, it was the worst feeling in the world once I realised I was locked out of my van and that my van had locked itself. I couldn't believe it. So from now on, I always make sure that the lock on my door is fully open. Not halfway open, but fully open. And because if the lock in my van was fully open, just say, and if I hadn't have had, if I didn't store this in my side door, that wouldn't have happened. But because it has happened now, I mean, oh my God. Yeah, so the moral of the story is, if it can happen to me, it can happen to you or anyone else. And oh my God, you have no idea how I felt, how panicky I was once I realised I was locked out of my van, knowing I couldn't get into my apartment. And I was worrying about Carolyn because she has some sort of emergency and I can't get in contact with anyone via my phone and I can't take any money out and I can't do nothing. Oh my God, it was the worst feeling in the world. It really was. So please, learn from my mistakes and hopefully it won't happen to you. So if you have a compartment down your side door, like for maps and paperwork and stuff, don't store things like this in there. Especially if your lock is down near there like mine is. I'll give you a look. Okay, so I'll show you what I mean. So as you can see, I've got no lock here, but there's a lock there. So what happened is that this was half, instead of fully open like that, it was half open like that. And then as I've closed the door, this was in here, which is pressed down against that. And this ended up pushing that again like that. and that ended up like that. So from there, I want to make sure that this is fully open like that. Oh my God. So at least I know now how to avoid this situation so it doesn't happen ever again. And I hope your vehicle never locks itself, locking you out either. Okay, so I have to go to my doctor's appointment. So I hope you find this video helpful in some way. So please subscribe to my channel to support me. And please give my videos a thumbs up. And I'll see you, darling, in my next video. So until then, please take care. And of course, drive safely. Bye-bye, darling.